Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today, for National Poetry Month, I'm going to be devoting this episode of Poetry Thursday to another one of my favorite poets. Today, I'm going to be speaking about W.S. Merwin. Merwin was an American poet who wrote over 50 books in the 20th and 21st centuries. Among his many awards and distinctions are 2 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry, a National Book Award as well, and he was named U.S. Poet Laureate. He studied at Princeton University, where he was influenced by then graduate assistant and eventual Pulitzer Prize-winning poet John Berryman. He also developed a friendship that would last for 25 years with the poet Ezra Pound. Early in Merwin's career, he wrote poetry inspired by diverse classical models and also by the Bible. He was also a translator of distinction, translating the poetry of Neruda, Borges, and Lorca, among others. He also wrote a translation of the medieval poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. He was associated with the Vietnam War poets, and he wrote extensively about the war and its impact on humanity. He wrote throughout the 1960s and 1970s about political corruption and about the destruction of the environment. He donated the prize money from his first Pulitzer Prize to anti-war causes. In the 1980s, he settled in Hawaii, where he studied with Zen Buddhist master Robert Aitken, and he would live in Hawaii with his wife Paula for the remainder of his life. His wife Paula passed away in 2017, and Merwin died in 2019. He remains to this day a role model for the artist in times of political turmoil. And now for some poetry. I have a number of his books. Many of the poems I'm going to be reading today are from the essential W.S. Merwin. Odysseus. Always the setting forth was the same sea, same dangers waiting for him, as though he had got nowhere but older. Behind him, on the receding shore, the identical reproaches, and somewhere out before him, the unraveling patience he was wedded to. There were the islands, each with its woman, entwining welcome to be navigated and one to call home. The knowledge of all that he betrayed grew till it was the same whether he stayed or went. Therefore he went. And what wonder if sometimes he could not remember which was the one who wished on his departure perils that he could never sail through, and which, improbable, remote, and true, was the one he kept sailing home to. Next, Berryman. I will tell you what he told me in the years just after the war, as we then called the Second World War. Don't lose your arrogance yet, he said. You can do that when you're older. Lose it too soon, and you may merely replace it with vanity. Just one time he suggested changing the usual order of the same words in a line of verse. Why point out a thing twice? He suggested I pray to the muse. Get down on my knees and pray right there in the corner. And he said he meant it literally. It was in the days before the beard and the drink. But he was deep in tides of his own through which he sailed, chin sideways and head tilted like a tacking sloop. He was far older than the dates allowed for, much older than I was. He was in his 30s. He snapped down his nose with an accent I think he had affected in England. As for publishing, he advised me to paper my wall with rejection slips. His lips and the bones of his long fingers trembled with the vehemence of his views about poetry. He said the great presence that permitted everything and transmuted it in poetry was passion. Passion was genius, and he praised movement and invention. I had hardly begun to read. I asked, how can you ever be sure that what you write is really any good at all? And he said, you can't. You can't. You can never be sure. You die without knowing whether anything you wrote was any good. If you have to be sure, don't write. The Laughing Thrush. O nameless joy of the morning, tumbling upward note by note out of the night and the hush of the dark valley and out of whatever has not been there. Song unquestioning and unbounded. Yes, this is the place and the one time in the whole of before and after, with all of memory waking into it, and the lost visages that hover around the edge of sleep, constant and clear, and the words that lately have fallen silent to surface among the phrases of some future, if there is a future. Here is where they all sing the first daylight, whether or not there is anyone listening. Lear's wife. If he had ever asked me, I could have told him. If he had listened to me, it would have been another story. I knew them before they were born. With Goneril at my breast, I looked at the world and saw blood in darkness and tried to wake. With Regan at my breast, I looked at the world and covered my mouth. With Cordelia in my arms at my breast, I wanted to call out to her in love and helplessness, and I wept. As for him, he had forgotten me even before they did. Only Cordelia did not forget anything, but when asked, she said nothing. The Laughing Child. When she looked down from the kitchen window into the backyard and the brown wicker baby carriage in which she had tucked me 3 months old to lie out in the fresh air of my first January. The carriage was shaking, she said, and went on shaking. And she saw I was lying there laughing. She told me about it later. It was something that reassured her in a life in which she had lost everyone she loved before I was born. And she had just begun to believe that she might be able to keep me as I lay there in the winter, laughing. It was what she was thinking of later when she told me that I had been a happy child. And she must have kept that through the gray cloud of all her days. And now, out of the horn of dreams of my own life, I wake again into the laughing child. And these last ones are from his final book, Garden Time. December morning. How did I come to this late happiness as I wake into my remaining days, another morning in my life with Paula taking me by surprise like the first one? I know it is rash to speak about happiness with the fates so near that I can hear them, but this morning even the old regrets seem to have lost their rancor and to harbor shy hopes, like the first grass of spring appearing between paving stones when I was a small child. And I see that each step has been leading me to the present morning that I recognize before daylight. And I forget that I am almost blind. And I see the piles of books I was going to read next, where they wait like statues of sitting dogs, faithful to someone they used to know. But happiness has a shape made of air. It was never owned by anyone. It comes when it will, in its own time. So that's some little bit about W.S. Merwin and some of my favorites of his poems. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.